All right, welcome back, everyone, to Lakers Latest. I hope you guys are having a good week. Hope you had a good Tuesday. Hope you're gonna have a good Wednesday. Again, as good as a Wednesday can be, I've kind of talked about before how I personally think it's the worst day of the week. I know naturally everyone thinks Monday is the worst day of the week, but I promise you it's not. It's Wednesday because you're just stuck in that middle of you've already gone through 2 days, you still have 2 days to go, and you're just stuck in the middle, and it just sucks. So yeah, I'll die on that hill. Wednesdays are worse than Mondays. Fight me about it. No, but yeah, hope everyone has had a good week so far. Obviously, we'll be a couple days away from Friday, and then the weekend. Can't wait. And yeah, so let's hop on it right away. We're gonna start with obviously something we've talked about. I've talked about the whole NBA world has been talking about all offseason, which is none other than King James, LeBron James. What's he going to do next? Where he's going to go? Now, obviously, we've talked about LeBron at the end of the day has nothing left to accomplish. Like, he is arguably the most accomplished player in NBA. Actually, I'm not even going to say arguably. He's the most accomplished player in NBA history. The things he's done will probably never be duplicated. He has nothing left to prove. He's done everything. He won a champ. He won won two championships in Miami, went back, won that championship in Cleveland, which is one of the greatest NBA finals we've ever seen. Obviously, coming back from 3-1 kind of defined his legacy, beating especially that team 73-9. And yeah, he's just unbelievable. And now we're getting to the point, obviously, where where he is 41 years old. Or is he 40? I keep forgetting whether he's 40 or he's either 40 or 41, or he's turning 41 this year. And, obviously, how many years does he have left? He is a unique, specific, I think, instance where we've never, in the history of the NBA, really seen a player at this age perform at the level. You've really never seen it in professional sports outside of, I would probably say, what Tom Brady did in the NFL at the age of 40 plus. That's really like the only instance I mean, I'm not going to count like golf because you could play golf up through your 60 and still be great. So yeah, I'm talking about individualized sports where you kind of decline near the end. Like, I would say Tom Brady's the only potential comparison who still plays at such an elite level that late in your career. But for the NBA, there really is no comparison. Like, even when Michael Jordan came back, he scored 20 a game for the Wizards, but he obviously wasn't the same. Like, LeBron is still playing at an insane level. He's still a top 15 player in the game, top 10 potentially. Debate it, it could be, but we're just getting to the point where he's gonna have to make a decision at some point on his future, whether that be re-signing with the Lakers, retiring, going elsewhere in the league, or we've talked about it before, potentially leaving for a new league. We know that LeBron and his agent and Jokic's agent have met and talked about kind of creating a almost rival league that would rival the NBA. I don't know if that's something that would ever realistically happen, or if LeBron would be part of that league after he retired or leave the NBA entirely for it. But it is something that could happen. But you're looking at it, Brian Windhorst, and everyone knows Wendy. Just shout out to one of the great memes of all time. Um, he's the LeBron guy. He's been the LeBron guy since Cleveland. So I've said this before. When Wendy says something about LeBron, you listen, because there is no one in the NBA that is better connected to LeBron James or his inner circle than Brian Windhorst. So when he says these stuff, I take what he said, and he can be annoying at times, but I do take what he says regarding LeBron a little bit more important than kind of other people. And he kind of talked about he doesn't see LeBron retiring at the end of the year. He doesn't see him slowing down. He's still playing at an incredibly high level that we've talked about that we really haven't seen before. And he does think that he will most likely continue to play. Of course, that's not a guarantee, but when Wendy says it, you listen, especially regarding LeBron. And then he also did mention the possibility of him leaving for a rival league, which again, I still think is a little far fetched. I'm not saying that league couldn't eventually come to fruition, but I personally just think that I just don't see LeBron James leaving the NBA. Like, he obviously, I think if in an ideal world he would win one more championship. Obviously, I don't know if the Lakers are going to compete for that as constituted. We'll see. The Wiggins deal could change because that gives them a two-way wing that I think is that final piece to potentially elevating them to OKC, Thunder, OKC are the Thunder, OKC, the Nuggets, and the Rockets. Because I've talked about before, I think right now those three teams are just a clear cut above the rest of the teams in the Western Conference with talent and all that. It's just crazy. But It's going to be interesting to see what LeBron does. Obviously, he's a first ballot Hall of Famer, arguably the greatest player who's ever stepped foot on the basketball court. It's either him or Jordan. If he's not one, he's two. So he's accomplished everything he could. But yeah, just interesting notes from Wendy, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens with LeBron after this year. It's probably going to be the biggest NBA storyline after the season. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with that. All right, next we're gonna do a little things of looking. So we kind of talked about looking at trade options, but we talked about a lot about Andrew Wiggins. I brought it up a couple months ago, and when it was a potential rumor, and then it was kind of on the outskirts for a while. We knew the Lakers were interested in him, but there hadn't been any really legs or any reports of it actually potentially happening. And then that completely changed last week when they kind of heard that they really are kind of discussing a deal and starting the legs of that deal. So that would obviously change things. But assuming they didn't get Wiggins, you look at other options. Quentin Grimes of the Sixers is an interesting option. Now, he was drafted by the Knicks, had a very solid rookie year, had a good second year, disappointing third year, and then the Knicks traded him to the Pistons. And then last year, the Pistons traded him to the Mavs. He was solid with the Mavs, and then the Mavs, just outrageously cheap. They traded him because they knew they couldn't resign him. So they basically just traded him just so they could get something in return. Goes to Philadelphia, completely brings his game to a level we haven't seen before. In Philly, he averaged 22 points a game, 5.2 rebounds, 4.5 assists, making 2.9 threes a game, 46% from the field, 37% from three, all while playing solid defense. This guy, I believe he's 25 years old too, so he's a young, ascending player that has clearly taken his game to another level. Now, with him, a lot of the reason he had those numbers was because so many guys on the Sixers were injured, and it allowed him to really play a little bit more up to his potential. I don't know if he would have as much opportunity to do that on the Lakers with LeBron here, with Luka. But you look at it, he's a guy that, probably could fit in that starting lineup. But I think the bench might be a better option for him, mostly because I remember when he was on the Knicks and they had Brunson and Randall and kind of two ball handlers, like, it was difficult for him. He couldn't really find his footing in that offense, and I feel like he needs to have some control. It's better when the ball's in his hands, and obviously that's not going to happen in the starting lineup, so I think the bench would definitely be better suited for him. But he's a young, ascending player who, and he might cost more to get than Wiggins just because he's obviously younger. It would have to be a sign and trade. I think something along the lines of like Vanderbilt, Connect, Vincent maybe. And then it's like, is that worth it? But he's a really interesting player. He's a guy that I do think would be a really good fit for this team. And obviously, given the fact that he's 25, he fits the timeline with Luka pretty well. I mean, Luka's right up there, right near the same age. Obviously, Luka's going to be the star of the show, but he's another guy who's a great shooter and a guy that I personally like. Obviously, this year, maybe he wouldn't, be starting or taking on that role. But once LeBron leaves, assuming LeBron left, he's a guy that would be a really good fit next to Luka Doncic. Good defender, really good shooter, versatile, can do it all. So it's going to be interesting to see. I mean, it's September 17th, and he's still a restricted free agent. So something's going to happen with him in the next few weeks. He's either going to accept a qualifying offer from the Sixers, he's going to accept a long-term offer from the Sixers, or they're going to trade him somewhere. One of those three things is going to happen in the next 2 weeks. So he's definitely a guy to keep an eye on, and it will be interesting to see what happens with him moving forward. Now, with Cam Thomas signed, Grimes and the other guy we're about to talk about, Jonathan Kuminga, are the two biggest restricted free agents left on the market. Kuminga's had a pretty crazy offseason saga. It's just kind of been all over the place. He's been going back and forth with the Warriors. The Warriors have offered him multiple deals. He's rejected. They've upped their deals. He's rejected. We've heard a lot about potential rumors about him being traded to the Kings, that they really value him, and maybe a deal with Malik Monk. Obviously, it still hasn't materialized, so it's still a possibility. Again, it would probably have to be a sign and trade where they would have to do a trade similar to what I just did with Grimes. But, I mean, Kuminga is a very talented player. If you look at, I personally think Grimes would be a better fit next to Luka for the future, but Kuminga is a really talented player. He's about 6'7", 6'8", hyper athletic, just an absolute athletic freak of nature. Runs like a gazelle, can do so many things. Shooting is probably not his biggest strength. He's a career, I think, 32% three-point shooter. He's 30% from three last year. 15.3 points, 4.6 rebounds, 45% from the field, but that was kind of a down year. He was 50 the 2 years before. But he's a really talented player, a guy that can kind of play all over. He can cut. He can do a little bit of everything. A good defender, but at times his effort, I think, is a little questionable. But again, when we're looking for probably, I think Wiggins is that plan A. So when you're looking at, okay, if this Wiggins deal doesn't work out, especially in the next 2 weeks, because something's going to happen. I'm not guaranteed it's going to happen on Wiggins, but one of Grimes or Kuminga, those will be taken care of in the next 2 weeks. So it's like if the Wiggins one, maybe they're asking too much or it doesn't seem like it's going anywhere, I could see them potentially looking at Kuminga or Grimes and seeing if they can make a sign and trade deal for one of those guys. I wouldn't count on it. But at this point, Rob should be exhausting all his options. He should be looking at every single possible option available to him to upgrade the team, whether that be Wiggins, Grimes, Kuminga, someone I haven't mentioned before, Drew Hall, any guys. At the end of the day, like I said, I still do think the Lakers need that two-way wing that can take them to that next level. And if it's not Wiggins, you got to look at all options on the table, whether that be Grimes, Kuminga, someone else. Vassell, Trey Murphy, there's a ton of guys that I think will be available. So if it doesn't get done before the regular season, I do think there's a chance at some point it will get done during the regular season. So yeah, Kuminga and Grimes specifically are two guys that those situations will be taken care of in the next 2 weeks, whether it's re-signing, accepting the qualifying offer, or being traded elsewhere. All right, and again, as it kind of seems every day, it's just there's always something on Luka new every day, so I have to talk about it. This one's really interesting, though. Luka kind of discussed what it felt like to be traded, and I think it's interesting because, obviously it's strange for any player to get traded, but that trade specifically, I think probably for him, and he actually did say it, but for me and probably for all of you and every single person who loves and follows the NBA, it's probably the most shocking trade in NBA history. At least I know it definitely was for me. I remember when I saw the tweet, I had to double check because I was like, is this the Casental has it's like Charms? That's what I thought it was. I was like, there's no way this is real. This can't be real. And then when he said this is a real tweet, it was mind blowing. So if it was like that for us, imagine what it would have been like for Luka. And Luka basically did say, he said he didn't really know how to react. He said he was just absolutely shocked on every level. He didn't even see it close to coming. The Mavericks hadn't given him any indication that they were even looking to trade him or that they weren't happy with how he was performing or maybe his weight, which obviously is the thing that's been discussed ad nauseum all offseason. But yeah, he just says he was totally shocked. He said, the Mavs fans gave him nothing but, respect. They loved him. They gave him love, and he really appreciates that. And then he said, after the trade, I didn't know what to do. I didn't want to anger Mavs fans or anger Lakers fans by saying, I'm happy to be here and out of there, or I'm going to miss Dallas and I wish I stayed, which is honestly understandable. That's such a crazy situation to be in. I can't possibly imagine what he was feeling like in that time. So it makes total sense that he didn't really know how to react. It's kind of crazy. The Lakers in a span of really a week and a half had two of the wackiest trade/non-trades in the NBA you'll ever see. First trading for Luka, and then obviously the Mark Williams deal that eventually gets nixed, which was just crazy. And then Connect comes back, and you obviously saw that first week he just wasn't happy. It's like he didn't even look like he was there. He was just floating in space. So yeah, it was a crazy 2 weeks at the deadline last year. We'll see if it's like that this year, depending on if they make a trade before the season or earlier in the season. So yeah, we'll keep an eye on that. But yeah, that's what I got for you today, guys. It's the 17th. The first official preseason game is the 3rd. Media day. I know some media days are today. I don't know if the Lakers are specifically today, but I know that they're around the corner. Training camp starting and preseason before we know we're going to be at regular season. So get ready, guys. It's going to be an awesome season. And yeah, I can't wait. Hope everyone has a good day. I'll catch you guys tomorrow.